So this is a live workshop upon API security testing. So first of all, I would like to say some basic concepts about API security. So first of all, I want to say that what are APIs? So APIs are its full form is an application programming interface. It's a set of rules or protocols that allows programs and application to communicate with each other. It's a thing like if you want to communicate between uh, each and every functions of a application, we need to use APIs. So API calls are there to communicate with each other functionality and each other services between. So simply put, an API is a piece of code taking to another piece of code. So it's a communication between two pieces of code that makes things right. So we can take one example as the waiter. So yeah, when you go to the restaurant, you look on the menu to see what is being offered. So the waiter comes first and takes your order, and he goes to the chef area, and he said them that what a person orders, and he came back to the. So that's the same thing, like you tell an API what to do on a specific web application, and the web API calls do the thing. So yeah, so we have again, I'm going to the next slide. That yeah, there are types of API. So first of all, we have REST APIs. The REST stands for a representational state transfer. Is the most famous one and the most popular type of API. It is used for in web applications. So REST API uses HTTP request to retrieve and manipulate data. So here use HTTP request. Yeah, they typically return data in JSON or XML format. So we will see in next slide that what REST API is. So basically, the API penetration testing is based on REST API. The SOAP and graphical is hardly used nowadays, but still it's in the types. So next we have SOAP APIs, that stand for Simple Object Access Protocol, and it's another type of API for web application, and it uses XML to transmit data. So in a REST API, we have HTTP request to retrieve and manipulation data, and in SOAP we use XML. So they typically require more bandwidth than REST API. That's why it's less famous than REST API and less used than REST APIs. And next we have GraphQL API. It's a newer type. It's a new technology of API that is gaining popularity nowadays. So it's allow client to specify the data they need and returns only to the data in a single request. So yeah, we will get to see that what different types of APIs are and what their functions are. So these are the three types of API. And in next slide we have a simple the REST API characteristic. We can see here that what a REST API is and how it looks. So see, REST APIs are stateless. Means if you are visiting someone or visiting in a website, so you have to means submit each and every parameters every time. Means it cannot store any caches. So caches. That's why. So yeah, we can see that it's an the JSON format. So first we have the first name JSON. So you just take an example that this you are log into some website. So these are the payload. These are the things that goes to the server. If you have first name with last name, total price, deposit true, booking date, checking, checkout. So it's a placing order request. So this is the basic structure of API. Yeah. So yeah, for the testing purpose, we need to know this thing, this CRUD. It stands for create, retrieve, update, and delete. So basically, we test on these functionalities. If a API is creating something, if API is used to retrieve something, or is API used to update or delete something. So there are basic means various HTTP methods are used along with their API services. So we have in create, put, or post, and get, put, post, patch, delete. All these are HTTP methods which are used in web requests. So yeah, the next important thing comes in our mind, that why we should we learn API penetration testing. So yeah, so first of all, 80%, more than 80% of web requests are consist of API. So yeah, growing use of APIs. Day by day websites are growing. So with the rise of web and mobile applications, API have become an essential component of many software platforms. And the criticality of API. So because APIs are handling sensitive requests, means when you are logged into a specific web application or doing any banking transactions, APIs are there. So the APIs are very critical, so the security of API is also become very critical nowadays. And next, the complexity. So API security is very complex and it requires a good understanding of web application security principles. So without that, you cannot design a good API, and eventually it will go break and any hacker could take advantage of it. In next we have another sentences like regulatory requirements. So many industries such as finance and healthcare are subject to strict regulatory requirement of data protection. So that's why APIs are used more, and that's why we need to ensure that the APIs are secure, because API are used in various industries. And next we have career growth opportunity. So yeah, as I said earlier, that because API users continues to grow, so there will be an increase in demand for cybersecurity professionals with skills in API penetration testing. So you should have API penetration testing in a bucket list, in your list toolbox. So that's what I'm saying, that if you are doing a web application penetration testing, then you should definitely go for API. If you're doing a network penetration testing or doing any kind of penetration testing, so you should include API penetration testing also. So yeah, next we have a data, that how this is the data from a Salt customer data. So this shows that how API grows as the number of years. So it grew almost 82% over the last year, means people are using, businesses are using APIs, means day by day it increases. So yeah, so along with that, API attacks also increase. So that's what I'm trying to say, that the more the number of people are using API nowadays, the more the attacks. To continue this session, please watch module number 3, basics of API security testing tools.